This show was more popular internationally than it was in the States, and for obvious reasons. Robert Blake was a very controversial character actor who did a lot of major movies in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and of course, the alleged criminal involvement he was in later in life. But we're only going to be talking about this show now. Beretta, for many people who watched CHSJ or CBC back in the day, was the most popular late night show. Now, it wasn't shown in prime time on CBC New Brunswick, but it was sometimes 11:30 or 12:30 at night. Now, it ran at ABC from 75 to 78. The show was a revised and milder version of a 73-74 ABC series called Toma, starring Tony Musante as a comedian-like, real-life New Jersey police officer David Toma. When Musante left the series after a single season, the concept was retooled as Baretta, with Robert Blake again in the title role. Now, the theme music was very, very dominant on the charts back in the day, and it was called Keep Your Eye on the Sparrow. It was composed by Dave Grusin and Morgan Ames. It was sung by the ever-popular and ever-talented Sammy Davis Jr. In addition to being a chart hit for two other artists, it became an iconic song. Now, it lasted for 4 seasons, 82 episodes, with the great Stephen J. Cannell behind the scenes as the showrunner and the overall creator. Now, in the show, Antonio Vincente Tony Beretta is an unorthodox plainclothes police detective, badge 609, with the 53rd precinct in an unnamed fictional city, probably New York, probably inner city. He resides in apartment 2C of the rundown King Edward Hotel with Fred, his Triton cockatoo. A master of disguise, Beretta wears many while performing his duties. When not working, he usually wears a short-sleeved sweatshirt, casual slacks, a brown suede jacket, and a newsboy cap. So, a cousin to Al Pacino's characters. Now, Beretta is often seen with an unlit cigarette in his lips or behind his ear. His catchphrases include, "Don't do the crime if you can't do the time," "You can take that to the bank," and "That's the name of that tune." When exasperated, he occasionally speaks in asides to his late father, Louis. He drives a rusted-out Miss Blue 1966 Chevrolet Impala, 4-door sports sedan, nicknamed the Blue Gross, license plate 532 BEM. He frequents Ross's Billiard Academy and refers to his numerous girlfriends as, get this, his cousins. Now, it premiered January 17th, 75, and continued until May 18th, 78. Now, again, Billy Truman, his Colin Frere, was played by the great Tom Ewell. Other key actors in the show included Michael D. Roberts as Rooster, Inspector Schiller as by Dana Elcar, John Ward plays Detective Foley, Chino Fats Williams, of course, plays Fats, an older detective, Ron Thompson played Detective Nopke, Little Mo was played by Angela Rosidio, and Mr. Nicholas by Titos Vandis, a very prominent mob boss in the series. Now, upon watching Blake in the 73 film Electra Glide in Blue, ABC executive Michael Eisner contacted the star about doing a police series, which again culminated in Beretta. He was given creative control in most aspects of production and got into severe problems with the media and certain members of the press. Now, the theme song, again, it was initially an instrumental, but lyrics were added in later seasons that were sung by, again, Sammy Davis Jr. Every episode of Beretta began with the song, which contained the motto, "Don't do the crime if you can't do the time." According to Blake, studio executives did not want Davis's vocals for the theme song for fear that audiences would confuse Beretta for being a black series. Blake threatened to leave production if Davis's recording was rejected, and his bosses relented. Now, when the song was released as a single in Europe in 76, it reached number 1 in the Dutch Top 40 as Beretta's theme. The music for the theme song was performed by the LA-based Latin-influenced rock band El Chicano from Los Angeles, California. Now, El Chicano also released the song as a 45 and also a track on one of their albums. The Beretta theme song by El Chicano was a huge hit in many countries, as was the show, including Canada, Turkey, Malaysia, Singapore, France, and the Philippines. Now, the song was released as a single in the U.S., but only charted as high as number 42 on the ACC chart, where it bubbled under the Hot 100 as 101. After its initial run in syndication beginning in 79, the series later reappeared on TV Land in 99 as part of a package of series licensed from Universal. MeTV has aired reruns of Beretta on Saturday afternoons in the 2000s and the 2010s, and it was also aired on WKAQ TV. Now, on October 29, 2002, Universal Studios released the first season of Beretta on the Regional 1 DVD in the States. Now, ironically, the great parody of their show, Baretta, appeared in Mad Magazine around the time of the height of its fame. Now, in Taskmaster Live, a 2016 show at the Edinburgh Festival contested by 5 television executives, Jeff Ford, the UK managing director of Fox Networks, described Beretta as a lesser-known 1960s vehicle, making a mistake saying that was in the 60s. Now, in the Barney Miller episode Copycat, Detective Arthur Dietrich tells a copycat criminal that cops in committing a crime are not like they are depicted on television, and ends by saying, and that's the name of that tune. Now, in the film Reservoir Dogs, protagonist Mr. Orange steals himself before meeting main antagonist Joe Cabot by saying, "You're not going to get hurt, you're fucking Beretta." They believe every fucking word because you're super cool. Now, in the sitcom That 70 Show, in the season 1 episode Stolen Car, one of the main characters tells his wife, Midge, "You can tell me anything while I'm watching Beretta. It's complicated." Now, I watched Beretta and tried to figure out if the show, if maybe Robert Blake maybe didn't know he was on a show. I kid you not, he was so much real. Now, if you see Robert Blake in Cold Blood, he dominates every scene he's in. You know, that's hard with Scott Wilson and John Forsythe and Will Geer, good cast. But it was very controversial in the Maritimes. I think that's why it was shown after a certain time, because he was a person that could not be stopped in relation to what he felt crime fighting was. Now, Robert Blake would go on numerous TV shows and saying he was being disrespected and, I'm one of the best actors ever, and he's saying how certain Hollywood elements were holding him down. But for me, Robert Blake, pound for pound, one of the best actors of all time, although his personal life has been messed up. Beretta, if you have a chance to see it on YouTube or a myriad of networks, it's not only one of the most unique shows you'll ever see. If you don't know who Robert Blake is, you're saying, who is this guy? It makes you seek out his other work. Well, we all know later on he did some really interesting shows. And if I'm not mistaken, he played Jimmy Hoffa once or twice. The Battle Against the Kennedys. Are you happy now, Bobby? Or something like that. But Robert Blake had a famous interview on Merv Griffin where half of it was edited. And again, we all know his criminal situation the last number of years. But Robert Blake, pound for pound, you look at the great actors of all time because it's all up there on the screen. But, keep your eye on the sparrow and he's got a cockatoo. So, like, a lot of it doesn't make sense, a lot of it does make sense. But if you like Al Pacino, if you like that Serpico style, French Connection, the gritty realism of the streets. By the way, Hill Street Blues, NYPD Blue, owes a lot to Beretta. Because just in the presentation, the realness of it. And Robert Blake, like I said, a method actor like you wouldn't believe. And he's one of my favorite actors. I'm not going to put him down for being as talented as he is. Thanks for listening. Bye.